You feel it, don't you? A pull, a whisper, a stirring in the air. Something in you knows that the life you've been living is not the whole story. The nights you've wrestled with fear, the mornings you've carried invisible chains, none of that was the end. It was only the shadow before the rising sun. Because there is a word, one word, chosen and charged with divine fire, and when you speak it, the course of your destiny bends. Not in years, not in months, but within 48 hours. This is not chance. You are not here by accident. You have been summoned to this very moment. Spirit has placed you in front of this message, because your soul has cried out for release. Your heart has begged for a reset. And the heavens have answered. For too long, you believed that life happened to you. You thought circumstances were stronger than your will. You thought fate was locked, written in stone. But destiny is not a prison. It is a living script, and the pen has always been in your hand. You've mistaken delay for denial. You've mistaken the wait for abandonment. But listen closely. Nothing in your life has been wasted. The brokenness, the setbacks, the confusion, they were preparing the ground, clearing the soil, making space for what is about to burst forth. And now, the key has arrived. A word so alive, it carries the vibration of rebirth, a word that resets timelines, rearranges paths, and reopens doors thought closed forever. You see, the universe does not respond to begging. It does not respond to doubt. It responds to command. And when a soul dares to align with the divine and speak a command drenched in faith, creation itself bows. Think of it: the seas parted for Moses, the sun stood still for Joshua, walls collapsed at a shout. These were not myths. They were demonstrations of a law that still lives, and that law says the spoken word, infused with divine certainty, reshapes reality. And you, yes, you, are standing at the threshold of that law. But before I reveal this one divine word, you must empty your hands of the lesser ones, the words of defeat you've carried, the sentences you've repeated under your breath: I can't. It's too late. I'll never change. Those words have built invisible prisons around your life, and you didn't even know you were the one keeping yourself locked inside. Hear me. The bars are an illusion, and today, they dissolve. Close your eyes, if you dare, and imagine a fire sweeping through your old language, burning to ash every curse you spoke over yourself. In its place, a new word rises. Bright, untouchable, eternal. This is not positive thinking. This is not wishful dreaming. This is the creative power that formed galaxies, the very breath that spun the stars into being. And that breath is about to flow through your own lips. For the word I will give you is not just sound. It is a decree. It is a reset button placed inside the human spirit by the Creator himself. When you speak it, you announce to the universe, my story begins again, and heaven obeys. But listen carefully, the word works only for those who dare to believe. If you play with it casually, nothing moves. But if you rise in your authority, if you speak it as though angels lean in to record your decree, then within 48 hours, the ground beneath your feet shifts. Opportunities hidden will appear. Delays will reverse. Chains will snap without explanation. Your mind will try to reason, to analyze, to say, this can't be. But your spirit will know. Because deep down, you've always carried the memory of your true power. And so I ask you, are you ready to remember? Are you ready to stop living as a beggar at the gates of life and step in as the heir you were born to be? Lean closer. Still your doubts. For the word is about to be placed in your hands. And when you speak it, destiny itself will bow. There is a mystery most people never touch, though it has been breathing at the edges of their lives all along. It is the mystery of sound, of vibration, of words that carry not just meaning but power. A word is not ink on a page or noise in the air. It is energy set in motion, a living current that echoes in both the seen and unseen worlds. When you speak, you release waves that ripple outward, striking matter, shaping energy, summoning responses. But among all words, there are certain ones that rise above the ordinary, words that contain within them a seed of divinity. These words do not simply describe your life, they redesign it. One such word, when spoken with clarity and conviction, holds the hidden power to shift your energy and rewrite your future in ways your mind cannot comprehend. Consider this. Every future you imagine already exists as a possibility. Each timeline waits like an unopened door, ready for your choice to unlock it. But choice alone is not enough. Silent wishing does not move mountains. It is only when the choice is spoken, declared with the breath of your spirit, that the unseen responds. The spoken word is the key that turns the lock. And when you utter the right word, the word aligned with divine frequency, you are no longer asking life for change. You are commanding it. You are placing a demand on destiny, and destiny must obey throughout history. Sages, prophets, and mystics have known this secret. They guarded words that shifted kingdoms, healed bodies, dissolved obstacles, and opened gates of abundance. These words were not spells in the sense of superstition. They were spiritual instruments, perfectly tuned to harmonize with the laws of creation. To speak them was to align human intention with divine authority. And when alignment occurs, reality bends. Now think about your own life. How many words have you released that chained you to scarcity, struggle, or delay? Every, I can't, every, I'm stuck, every, nothing ever works for me, became a command to the universe. Life heard and responded, faithfully delivering the reality you declared, even if you did not mean to. Because the universe is impartial. It does not judge your words, it amplifies them. And so you have been living inside the echo of your own speech. But what if one word could break that cycle and reset everything? What if a single divine word, spoken with faith, could sweep away years of limitation in just 48 hours? This is not about magic. It is about law. Just as gravity pulls without partiality, the law of the spoken word responds without fail. But there are certain sounds that carry more weight, more fire, because they mirror the original sound that birthed the universe. The moment you align with one of those words, you step into the stream of divine authority, and creation rushes to obey. This is why prophets could declare and storms ceased, why healers could speak and broken bodies rose whole, why leaders could shout and walls of stone crumbled before them. It was not their human voice alone. It was the frequency of their words vibrating with the will of heaven. You may think, how could one word change the path of my entire life? But remember, great rivers are turned by the smallest shifts. A seed the size of a grain contains forests yet unborn. So too, one word, if divine in essence, holds within it the power to reroute decades of destiny. When you speak it, the atmosphere rearranges. Invisible forces move into position. People you have never met, opportunities you could never plan, align themselves with your decree. Within 48 hours, evidence begins to surface. Not because the universe is slow, but because reality is recalibrating to your new frequency. You were not born to be tossed by circumstances. You were born to rule with the authority of your word. That authority has been lying dormant, waiting for the day you would rise and remember. And the moment of remembering is now. The moment when you awaken to the hidden power of a single word that does more than inspire. It resets. It rewrites. It restarts the story from a higher chapter, one written by the voice of your own spirit in agreement with the divine. Your future is not a long road stretching endlessly forward. It is a living field, sensitive to every vibration you send into it. When you speak defeat, the field withers. When you speak faith, the field blossoms. And when you release the word chosen by Spirit itself, the entire field transforms in an instant. The soil of your destiny responds as though lightning has struck it, igniting seeds long buried, awakening pathways long forgotten, opening doors that once seemed sealed shut. That is the hidden power of a single word, and it waits for you to claim it and release it with the authority that has always belonged to you. Most people live inside cages they cannot see. These cages are not made of iron or stone, they are made of words. Invisible sentences spoken so often that they hardened into walls. The words you speak about yourself, about your future, about what is possible or impossible, become the blueprint of your reality. Every time you say, I can't, a bar appears. Each time you whisper, "It's too late," another lock clicks shut. These declarations might feel harmless, but they are commands disguised as complaints, and the universe obeys them with precision. You see, language is not just communication. It is creation. Words are seeds, and every seed knows how to produce after its own kind. An apple seed does not grow into an oak tree, and words of defeat do not grow into triumph. What you plant in your speech, you harvest in your life. If you sow scarcity with your words, lack will bloom in every corner of your days. If you sow fear, your path will be filled with obstacles that mirror your belief. And so many walk through life as gardeners unaware, scattering weeds with their own mouths, never realizing they are the source of their own thorns. There is a deeper truth most never grasp. The greatest prison is self-constructed, and the material of that prison is language. You may blame circumstances, people, or luck, but in reality, the strongest chains are forged by the phrases you repeat without question. Think of how often you have declared limitations as though they were facts. "I'll never get ahead. I wasn't meant for success." Things like that don't happen for people like me. These are not casual statements. They are decrees, and life shapes itself around them. What feels like an external barrier is often nothing more than the echo of your own voice. Breaking free begins with awareness. You must listen to yourself with the ears of spirit. Catch the words you have spoken so often they feel natural. Notice the phrases you mutter under your breath, the scripts you inherited from family, culture, or society. Perhaps you heard as a child, "Money doesn't grow on trees," or "Dreams don't pay the bills." These words, repeated again and again, became the soundtrack of your subconscious. They became invisible orders written into the code of your reality. But once you see them, you are no longer their prisoner. For the moment you recognize that your cage is made of words, you also recognize that you hold the power to speak yourself free. There is a spiritual law at work here. You cannot hold two opposing truths in your mouth at the same time. You cannot call yourself defeated and also walk in victory. You cannot declare scarcity and expect abundance to overflow. Your mouth is the gateway through which your spirit claims its reality, and the universe cannot deliver to you what you contradict with your speech. To change your destiny, you must change your language. Not someday. Not when you feel ready. Now, imagine standing in front of a mirror and speaking not to your reflection, but to the very fabric of reality. Each word you release paints the canvas of your life. The phrases of defeat smear darkness across the canvas, but the words of faith, courage, and divine certainty stroke light into the picture. The image changes according to your declaration. And when you choose consciously, when you refuse to let careless phrases pass through your lips, you begin to repaint the story of your existence. There is a reason sacred texts across cultures place so much weight on the spoken word. "Let there be light" was not a suggestion, it was a command. And the moment it was spoken, light appeared. That pattern has not changed. Creation still bows to speech. And your life, in all its complexity, is waiting for a new decree. The question is, will you keep recycling the language of limitation, or will you dare to release a sound that sets you free? Do not underestimate the subtlety of this. Every sigh of, "I'm tired of trying," every muttered, "Nothing works out," feeds the chains of your old identity. But the moment you catch yourself and choose a new declaration, even a small one, you chip away at the bars. "I am rising. I am worthy. My path is opening." These are not empty affirmations. They are hammers striking at the prison walls. And if you keep striking, the walls will collapse. The power of breaking free from limiting language lies in persistence. One declaration may shake the ground, but consistent declarations rebuild the landscape. Soon the words you once spoke out of habit will feel foreign to you. The old phrases will no longer fit the shape of your new spirit, and in their place will be words aligned with truth, words that lift instead of crush, words that expand instead of shrink. When you reach that place, you no longer live in a prison of your own making. You live in a temple of sound, every phrase a beam of light, every word a doorway into greater destiny. Destiny has often been painted as something fixed, as if written in the stars long before you took your first breath, unchangeable, untouchable, beyond your reach. People speak of fate as though it were a stone tablet handed down from heaven, engraved with every triumph and failure, every joy and sorrow. And so they walk through life bound by the belief that nothing can truly shift, that their story is already decided. Yet this is the greatest delusion. Destiny is not stone, it is clay. It is soft, malleable, waiting for the hands of your spirit to shape it. The truth is not that you are trapped within a script, but that you are the one holding the pen. Every thought you allow, every belief you nurture, every word you speak becomes ink upon the page of your future. The story is being written moment by moment, not by some distant force outside of you, but by the choices you embody and the energy you release. When you wake each day, the book of your life is not sealed, it is open. The lines may feel familiar, yes, but they are not final. One shift in belief, one act of courage, one declaration of truth has the power to tear away entire chapters and begin anew. And this is where your freedom lies. The freedom to command destiny, rather than be dragged along by it. Think about the moments in your life when everything changed. Rarely did they come by slow and calculated planning. More often, a decision, a word, a moment of clarity altered the path completely. You said yes to something you once feared. You walked away from something that no longer served you. You spoke into the silence and the silence answered back. In those moments, you touched the truth of destiny. It is alive, it responds, it bends. And if it can bend once, it can bend again. If it shifted in the past, it can shift in the present. Destiny is not a prison guard, it is a servant to your authority. The universe is a field of infinite timelines, endless roads that stretch in every direction. Every version of your life exists as potential, waiting for your alignment. What decides which path solidifies before you? Your state of consciousness, your words, your willingness to believe that you are not powerless. When you say, "This is my fate," nothing can change it. You chain yourself to one line of possibility. But when you rise and declare, "I am not bound, I choose again," suddenly the field rearranges itself to honor your command. This is not imagination, it is law. Consciousness selects reality. And your voice is the signal that tells creation where to flow. Even ancient traditions knew this. Prophets declared futures, seers spoke visions. Sages taught that destiny was not a decree handed down, but a force that responded to alignment. That is why rituals, prayers, affirmations, and mantras were born, not as empty words, but as tools to command the invisible. The spoken word was always the bridge between what is and what could be, and you, though perhaps unaware, have been speaking destiny over yourself all along. The question is not whether you are shaping your future. The question is what kind of future your words have been shaping. If you have lived under the weight of struggle, it is not because life has cursed you, but because the script you repeated has carved the path beneath your feet. But the moment you change the script, the moment you take hold of your authority and write a new line, the path changes. It is as if the stage of your life shifts, sets in an instant. One scene closes, another begins, and the actors, circumstances, and opportunities rearrange themselves according to the new lines you have declared. This is the theater of destiny, and you are not the audience. You are the author. Imagine holding a brush and standing before a vast canvas. For years you have painted with muted colors, strokes of gray and shadow, convinced that this is all there is. But then someone places in your hand a vibrant hue, gold and crimson, and you realize the canvas was never finished. You realize the power to repaint was always in your hand. That is what it means to awaken to the truth that destiny is not fixed. The clay has always been wet. The ink has always been flowing. The brush has always been waiting to command destiny. You must first recognize that you are worthy of such authority. Many shrink back, believing it is arrogance to think they could shape their future. But it is not arrogance. It is inheritance. You were created in the image of the Creator, and to create is your nature. To command destiny is not to defy divine will, but to align with it. For the divine does not wish for you to live bound and powerless, but to rise as a co-creator, shaping the world in harmony with the highest good. When you speak with faith, when you declare with certainty, you are not imposing on destiny, you are awakening it. The shift begins when you stop repeating the words of victimhood. When you stop saying, "This is just the way things are." When you catch yourself declaring limits and instead replace them with truth. Every time you do, the clay softens, the lines on the page fade, the brushstroke brightens. Little by little, then suddenly, the entire shape of your life begins to transform, and what once felt inevitable becomes nothing more than a memory of a chapter you chose to close. There is a law older than the mountains, older than the seas, older than the stars themselves. It is the law of the spoken word. Long before any structure was built, before any form took shape, there was sound, vibration, the whisper of breath carrying intention into the void, and the void responded, "Let there be light," and light appeared. This was not mere poetry, it was revelation of a principle that still governs your life today. Reality bends to sound, and sound infused with faith becomes command. Your voice is not an echo of circumstance, it is the architect of circumstance. When you speak, you release frequencies. Every word is a note, every sentence a song. The air itself trembles with your vibration, and unseen forces align themselves with the frequency you set. This is why words of despair multiply despair, why words of courage multiply strength. Your life is the mirror of your mouth. The language you allow is the world you inhabit. If you speak lack, you summon lack. If you speak abundance, you summon abundance. The universe has no choice but to answer to the sound you produce, for it is bound to respond to vibration. The question is not whether you are creating with your words. The question is what you are creating. Think of how often people misuse this law. They say, "I am so unlucky," and the energy of misfortune obeys. They murmur, "I'll never find a way out," and the path before them closes. Every sigh of hopelessness is an instruction. Every phrase of defeat is a decree, and yet they wonder why doors remain shut, why struggles persist. It is not that life has conspired against them, but that their own mouth has become their greatest adversary. The law does not judge, it only delivers. It does not distinguish between careless words and deliberate words. It fulfills both. That is why vigilance over your tongue is vigilance over your future. But there is another side to this truth, a side radiant with possibility. Just as words of despair summon chains, words of faith summon miracles. When you declare, "I am rising," unseen hands lift you. When you proclaim, "My path is open," opportunities hidden in shadow step into the light. When you speak with authority, heaven and earth shift to honor the sound. The word spoken in alignment with divine law carries weight beyond imagination. It bends the fabric of reality, rearranging matter, altering timelines, summoning outcomes that seemed impossible only moments before. This is why silence is not enough. Thoughts unspoken remain in the chamber of your mind, but words released become law in the world. You may believe quietly in your heart, but until your mouth speaks, the seed cannot germinate. Breath must carry it. Sound must mark it. You must declare it aloud so that creation hears and obeys. To keep your vision unspoken is to keep it unborn. To speak it is to give it life. Look at the power demonstrated throughout history. A single word of blessing turned entire families into nations. A single decree from a prophet shifted the course of battles. A single utterance of healing restored what was broken. These were not accidents. They were activations of the law. And the same law is alive within you. The same current of power flows through your tongue. The same creative force awaits your command. Every time you speak, you stand at the threshold of creation. The words you release are either building your temple or building your prison. They are either weaving light into your future or stitching shadows around it. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. One says, "This storm will destroy me," and the storm obeys. The other says, this storm clears the way for my greater good, and the storm obeys. The circumstances are the same, but the outcomes are different because the words were different. This is how law works. It is impartial, responding not to who you are, but to what you say. And when you understand this, you begin to take your mouth as seriously as your breath, for your breath keeps your body alive, but your words keep your destiny alive. To master this law is to stop speaking casually, to stop scattering words as though they were harmless. Each syllable is a seed. Each declaration carries weight. When you open your mouth, you are not filling space. You are shaping time. And once you recognize this, you begin to speak with intention. You begin to declare what aligns with truth, not what echoes fear. You refuse to use your voice as an instrument of your past, and instead wield it as the weapon of your future. For the law of the spoken word bends reality, and the moment you align your speech with divine certainty, life itself must bow to receive the new. The old must be released. This is the rhythm of creation, the cycle of life, the sacred exchange that governs transformation. A cup already full cannot be filled again, no matter how precious the water being poured. In the same way, a spirit weighed down with old beliefs, old stories, and old fears cannot hold the power of a reset until it first lets go. Preparing your spirit for reset is not about striving harder or proving your worth. It is about clearing the inner space where the new decree will land, so that when the divine word is spoken, it finds fertile ground instead of rocky soil. Every limitation you carry has roots in memory. Words spoken over you, experiences that shaped you, failures that branded themselves into your heart. These roots grow into weeds, filling the garden of your destiny until there is no room for harvest. Preparing for a reset means identifying those weeds and pulling them out, one by one, with the authority of awareness. Perhaps you were told as a child that you were not enough, and you believed it. Perhaps you faced rejection and concluded you were unworthy of love. Perhaps you watched dreams collapse and decided it was safer never to dream again. These are not truths, they are residues. And residues must be cleansed before new seeds can be planted. Letting go does not mean pretending those experiences never happened. It means refusing to let them dictate the script any longer. It means saying, yes, this shaped me, but it does not define me. Preparing your spirit for reset is like clearing ashes from a fire pit so new flames can rise. The ashes prove there was once heat, but they cannot provide warmth today. You must sweep them away to make room for fresh fire, and that sweeping is the work of release. Choosing forgiveness where bitterness lingers, choosing surrender where control has exhausted you, choosing openness where fear has kept you shut tight. The reset cannot enter a closed heart. To receive divine power, your spirit must stand like open hands, willing to release what is familiar in order to embrace what is greater. This is why so many resist change. They want the new while clinging to the old. They want transformation, but refuse to release the patterns that kept them bound. But life is merciful, and spirit whispers again and again, let go, and I will give you more. When you prepare your spirit by unclenching from the past, you signal to the universe that you are ready to be filled. This preparation is not passive. It requires deliberate attention to your inner atmosphere. Begin noticing the thoughts that rise without permission, the phrases you repeat unconsciously. Each time you hear the language of your past self, replace it with a declaration of your becoming self. Each time fear rises to remind you of failure, speak a word of courage that aligns with your new path. In this way, you are tilling the soil, breaking hardened ground, making it ready for the seed of destiny to take root and flourish. Without this preparation, the word may be spoken, but it will bounce off hard ground. With preparation, the word will sink deep, germinate quickly, and burst forth with fruit that transforms everything. Think of the farmer who clears stones from the field before planting. He does not curse the stones, nor pretend they do not exist. He simply removes them because he understands they will block the growth he is seeking. In the same way, you must clear the stones of doubt, resentment, and fear. A stone may seem small, but in the soil, it can choke an entire harvest. Your spirit must be a field without obstruction, soft to receive, wide enough to expand. This is not the work of a single day, but the posture of readiness that says, I am willing to become new. There is also an element of trust in this preparation. You cannot know in advance exactly how the reset will appear, what doors it will open, what paths it will draw before you. And so your task is not to control the outcome, but to prepare for it. Like a bride preparing for the arrival of her beloved, your spirit dresses itself in expectancy, cleansing, adorning, making space. You do not yet see the miracle, but you act as though it is already on the way. This act of preparation is itself a signal of faith, and faith is the magnet that pulls the divine into manifestation. Your old identity will resist this process. It will whisper, hold on to what you know, even if it hurts. It will convince you that safety lies in the familiar. But you must look that voice in the eye and say, my spirit was not made for cages. My future is not behind me, it is ahead. And with each release, each act of surrender, each declaration of openness, you create room for the reset to arrive. It is not punishment to let go, it is mercy. For what you cling to in fear has already withered, and what you open to in faith is already alive and waiting. Preparing your spirit for reset is an act of cleansing, of releasing, of surrendering the old wineskin so that new wine can be poured. It is the quiet yet powerful decision to no longer live in yesterday's narrative, no longer carry yesterday's dust into tomorrow's dawn. It is the willingness to step naked into possibility, unclothed by excuses, unburdened by history, and say, I am ready for what is next. Activation is the bridge between knowing and becoming. You may understand the power of words, you may grasp the truth that destiny is not fixed, but until you activate the word with your own voice, it remains dormant. Activation is not mental agreement, it is spiritual ignition. It is the moment when breath, faith, and authority unite, and the unseen responds with movement. To activate the divine word is to strike the match that sets the entire atmosphere aflame, to release into time and space a vibration that heaven itself recognizes as law. And when you do, the countdown begins. Within 48 hours, the reset starts to unfold, not because the universe is slow, but because reality must recalibrate to match the new decree. Consider how power lies dormant until switched on. Electricity runs through the wires of your home, but until you flip the switch, the light remains dark. Water waits in the pipes, but until you turn the handle, nothing flows. In the same way, divine power is already flowing toward you, but it waits for activation. The word is the switch, the declaration is the handle. Once spoken with faith, it opens the floodgates, and what has been invisible begins to pour into visibility. Without activation, even the greatest promise remains potential. With activation, the promise becomes manifestation. The act of speaking the word is not ritualistic, it is relational. You are not chanting to manipulate forces. You are aligning your voice with the eternal voice that spoke creation into being. You are declaring in agreement with the divine, and in that agreement, the entire structure of reality bends. The power does not come from empty repetition, but from conviction, from the fire of belief that flows through your declaration. When you speak the word as though angels are recording every syllable, the universe rushes to obey, and the time frame is not vague, it is swift. 48 hours is the sign of urgency, the mark of acceleration, the reminder that heaven does not delay when faith commands. You may wonder why 48 hours. Why not instantly? Understand this, the instant you declare the word, the reset begins in the unseen. Energies shift, pathways open, alignments are made. But the material world must catch up to the spiritual decree. Like ripples moving across water, the shift begins at the center and spreads outward until it touches the edges of your life. Some manifestations appear within hours, small confirmations, signs that the reset is real. Others take the full span of 2 days to emerge in undeniable form. But the law is precise once activated. The decree cannot return void. It must accomplish what it was sent to do. Activating the divine word requires posture. You cannot speak it with hesitation, as if testing whether it might work. You must speak it with authority, as if your entire being believes it has already happened. Speak it not as a question, but as a decree. Declare it not from your weakness, but from your inheritance. Let it roll from your tongue with the weight of certainty, and it will carry the vibration of truth that creation cannot resist. The power lies not only in the word itself, but in the spirit with which it is spoken. Fear weakens the vibration. Faith electrifies it, and the universe responds to the frequency of your conviction. This activation is not meant to be done once and forgotten. The more you speak it, the more you saturate your atmosphere with its frequency. Every repetition is another wave sent out into the field of reality, striking obstacles, dissolving resistance, calling forth alignment. Within 48 hours, the echoes return as evidence. A call you were waiting for arrives. A door that seemed closed swings open. An idea bursts into your mind with clarity. What seemed stuck begins to move. This is not coincidence. It is the harvest of your decree. Think of activation as striking a bell. The moment you strike, the sound rings out, but it continues to resonate long after the initial strike. When you speak the divine word, you strike the bell of destiny, and the vibration continues to move through realms you cannot see. It awakens what was sleeping. It unsettles what was blocking. It draws near what was distant. The sound does not fade until its purpose is complete. And your role is to strike boldly, to let your voice carry the tone of certainty, trusting that the resonance will do what it was designed to do. Activation is also partnership. You do not simply speak and wait idly. As the reset begins, you must move as if it is already unfolding. Step into the posture of readiness. Act as though the breakthrough is inevitable. Align your choices, your expectations, your energy with the reality you have decreed. In this way, you demonstrate that your faith is not passive but active. An active faith multiplies the speed of manifestation. Within 48 hours, you find yourself standing in the evidence of what you spoke. Astonished yet not surprised. Because deep down you knew the moment you declared it, it was already done. This is why the divine word is not given to everyone. It is entrusted to those willing to speak with boldness, to those who dare to activate instead of hesitate. Many will hear the word and dismiss it as empty, but the one who speaks it in faith will watch their destiny reset before their very eyes. And when the 48 hours pass, they will not only have seen transformation, they will have learned the secret of activation, the law that ensures their words will never again fall powerless to the ground.